Excuse me, I think we're ready to begin, aren't we? We have a quorum.
Yes.
Before we get started, I want to welcome everyone to our USDB board meeting and study session. I would like to recognize our ASL interpreter, Tony Bonnie. Hopefully I got that correct. I got a thumbs up. That's good. That's a good sign. Okay, very good. Before we get started, we'll have a roll call vote. If you just shout out that you're present. I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to join us. Vice Chair Belknap, I'm not seeing her in. Member Booth?
I'm here, thank you.
Member Cannon?
Here.
Member Klein?
Yes, I'm here.
Vice Chair Davis?
Here, thank you.
Member Earl?
Yes.
Member Hanson?
Good afternoon, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Member Hart? Member Hart?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Member Hutchings?
I'm here.
Thank you. Member Hymas?
Here.
Member Lear?
I'm here.
Member Moss?
Here.
Member Norton? So that she's logged in. Member Norton?
I'm here.
Let's go to Member Straight.
Present, I heard her in the background.
Yeah, she was real quiet, but I heard her too.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you for joining us, board members. Need to read this statement. As authorized by Utah Code 52-4, this meeting is being held electronically with an anchor location at the State Board of Education offices. The public may also attend electronically. And members of the public may view this meeting live at the USBE YouTube channel. So let's get right into our business here. We don't have any actionable items, but we've got quite some good informational items here. So want to welcome Superintendent Coleman. You're with us, is that correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, very good. Okay, so let's dive right into our first item, which is monthly budget update. Finance Director Carl MP, you ready to give us a report?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you and the other board members, and happy holidays to you. The financial report that we're presenting today is for the first 4 months ended October 31st. The good news is we remain financially solvent. Our inflows of our revenues and transfers from the state and the state office totaled 18.4 million. And I'm just rounding these numbers as I usually do. Our expenses were 12.4 million, giving us a surplus of $6.1 million. And there's a few components to that surplus. One is just the timing of the state giving us monies. Some months we have 3 pay periods. Most other months we have 2 pay periods. Each pay period is about $1.6 million. So it's just timing issues of when we have those additional pay periods. And also we have an advance from your office to help us pay our monthly transportation costs with Wasatch Transportation. Our number of students served, receiving services, I should say, was 1,838. Our total students served are 3,785. Then our balances in our 3 funds, the land grant enrichment fund balance is $372,000. Our donated funds is $253,000, and our education foundation is 1.16 million. The second report attached to your agenda is the budget status report that has all the supporting detail for those numbers that I just read. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have before we get into the enrichment fund projects.
Hey, we do have a hand raised. Member Booth? Question?
Oh, you're muted, Member Booth.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was just wondering, what is the difference between the total students served and then the total that went from 1,000 to 3,000 something?
The superintendent has a nice Google worksheet that goes into all those categories. And I think, Superintendent, do you provide that to the board on a monthly basis?
No, I introduced it to the board a couple of months ago, but we use it so that we can give more accurate information and then follow up on any requests the board has. Probably twice a year or so, I show it to the board. It has just all the data like crazy for everything. So in the case of what board member Booth is asking, it differentiates between the number of students we serve and the actual services that we provide. Some students receive more than one service, some don't. And so we want to account for those things separately. So however the board wants to get the information, we can provide it exactly what they need.
So do I have a follow-up, Member Booth? And why don't we have that brought back in our next meeting?
That would be great. Thank
It's
you.
an impressive worksheet. Yes.
That'd be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Member Hanson?
Just along those same lines, can we differentiate between on-campus and off-campus services? Do we know what those numbers are just offhand today?
I don't have those available, Board Member Hanson, but we'll get those to you and email that out to you and to the other board members.
The associate superintendents might be able to take a stab at it just for general information. Michelle?
Yeah, we have about 350 students total that we serve on a campus program. The remainder are served in outreach capacities.
And that's for the deaf school.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the blind school, we have about 56 kids. I think that actually changed today. 56 kids on campus, and we have about 420 outreach students that we serve.
Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Thank you. Director Empey, I'm not seeing any other hands raised. Do you want to go to the enrichment funds?
I would, please. Thank you so much. Of the 1.5 million that you approved before the start of the fiscal year, we have spent roughly $288,000, giving us a balance still to spend of 1.25 million. So everything looks very healthy as of this point in time, and I don't see any worries whatsoever to be concerned with. And that's my financial report, Mr. Chair. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions from board members? I just have one comment. Director Empey, I appreciate your good work and your due diligence in providing this data monthly. Transparency is really important. It might seem a little bit redundant at times, but this is goes to the public, and it is a public record. So I appreciate all your efforts in packaging this the way that it is. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to all of you that are no longer going to be on the board in January for your service. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to our superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you.
Superintendent Coleman.
Yes, I have one item to report on, and each of the associate superintendents has an item, I believe. The thing I wanted to update the board on today was as a follow-up to our last meeting. We went and Chair Huntsman reported to the Executive Appropriations Committee of the Legislature about our building projects. And he represented the motion that the board made and their work in generally supporting, but wanting to look deeper for efficiencies and maybe other opportunities and so forth to meet the needs of the students. The Executive Appropriation Committee approved the request to hold that money, continue to hold the money while we look a little deeper as a board. And also they assigned the legislative auditors to come work with USDB and to do their own audit and space study. So with that group and with the ad hoc committee that the board will form to work with us together, we're actually looking forward to that process of kind of rolling up our sleeves together and getting a little more into the details before they release the money to start design work. The auditors met with us, the legislative auditors met with us this week with the superintendency as an introductory meeting to talk about the scope of their work and exactly what they're going to be looking for under the direction of the Executive Appropriations Committee chairs. And they said, this is a little strange. Most people are not happy to see us, and because we expressed how grateful we were for them to come in and look at it, and we explained to them that we're actually happy to have support and help and others engaged and involved and those who care about really getting what we need. And so we just said, no, welcome. We're so glad to see you, and we're looking forward to the process. So they'll be meeting with us again in a couple of weeks and following through. And we also look forward to working with whatever members of the board are going to be serving on the ad hoc committee going forward. And we'll just wait to hear from board leadership on that. That's my report on that item. And then I think Associate Superintendent Tanner and Patton might have another item or two to share with you from their respective divisions.
Let's go with Associate Superintendent Tanner first.
Oh, good afternoon. I just wanted to report on two brief things. One, I returned back from that trip to Australia, which I wasn't present at the last board meeting. Had a great opportunity learning about the social emotional learning curriculums that they've got going there, and had an opportunity to visit with the School for the Deaf out there. And I have gained even a deeper appreciation for IDEA, since they do not have special education law out there. That was a fascinating discovery. So anyway, lots I learned. I won't spend the board's time on that, but we also would like to invite you to our Christmas programs. If you're interested, we're going to have one at Springville. That's on the 15th. It's happening, I believe, at 1 o'clock on the 15th. And they were having another one on the 21st at the Jomasu School of the Deaf. And that will happen at noon that day. It's the last day of school, so it'll be fun and chaotic, and we send the kids home. So that's kind of the things that are going on. Happy holidays to everybody. And we'll miss those of you who we spent a great deal of time with these last few years. And I too am also very grateful for the service you've rendered to us and the support you've given to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Associate Superintendent Patton.
Hi there. I'm just going to report on one thing. We had our Luminaria night on the, let's see, it was the 15th or 16th of November. Thanksgiving Point actually opened up the employee night to us so that they gifted us 300 tickets. That was good and bad in that we didn't have to purchase tickets like we have had to the past 2 years. However, we were limited to those 300 tickets, and we had an overwhelming amount of students and their families that wanted to attend. So we're going to look next year as far as what needs to happen to make sure that we can better meet the needs of those families or the students coming. It's interesting. We get a lot of I should say we get some input that are questions that are saying, well, why are the blind and low vision kids, why would they want to come to Luminaria? Because it's so visual. And obviously it's extremely visual, but for the most part, we have our students that are coming, and that's statewide across all school districts that are coming. It's such a visual stimulating event that it's something that the whole family can enjoy. And we have expanded, of curriculum activities throughout Luminaria, and the Thanksgiving Point has been so fantastic in working with the School for the Blind, and it's been such a great partnership. So I wanted to let you know about that because that was a big success. But if you do get any input, I would really like to have more input about that because we're looking at what we can do better and different next year. And I too just want to thank you and look forward to new members of the board and wish you all that are leaving us the best of luck and best in the future. So thank you. Anybody have any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Questions or comments from board members for the superintendency here? I'm not seeing any hand raised. I just want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to serve the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind for this past 8 years. I've learned a lot. There's some awesome things happening in our deaf and blind community. We have great educators. It's just been an awesome experience for me to be a part of the betterments that you guys are rolling out. I have been experiencing quite a bit of deafness over the last 4 years, so I'm very mindful of some of the challenges that are there for the students and also those around, family, other educators, etc. When you're in that space, I have a great deal of respect for all of the work that you guys are doing for the betterment, bringing betterments to all of our deaf and blind students. So thank you for all that you do. I hope you have a very merry holiday season and happy new year and more good stuff to follow. Any other questions or comments from board members? I'm not seeing any hands raised, so this will conclude this portion of the meeting. So thank you. It was a short one. Guys, take care.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're a little bit early for our next portion for our work session. I think the best thing for us to do,
Here.
we should take a little break here. Yes.
There seems to be some confusion. Some of the new board members got differing time reports as to when this next meeting starts. Some 1:30, some 1:45. So I just think we need to make sure everybody's here before we start.
Yeah, we will. We'll do a roll call. So let's take a 10-minute break, and then at 1:30 we'll see who's on board, and we can shoot out another communication. Is that okay, Sybil?
Yes, I'll take care of that. Thank you.
Okay, 10-minute break.
Chair Huntsman, the only new board member I do not see is Joe Carey. And I'm just going to ask if anyone has his phone number, would they please kindly text that to me? Because I have not been able to connect and get his phone number. I'd like to just try to reach out to him.
Well, can somebody shout out whether they're shooting him a text? Who that might
I'm
be?
sending him a text. Do you want his number?
Will you just text that to me, not out loud? And
Okay.
thank you. And thank you for texting him.
Yeah, my Google, everything shows 1:30, but let's make sure we get this right.
He's joining us now. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, let's make sure he gets in. Do you see Joe in?
Yes, I do. He did join us.
Okay, before we get started, we've got some on the study session. We have our existing board members here, and then we have our newly elected board members also present. But I'm going to do a roll call vote on the ones that will be participating in the voting. So I just want to make sure that you're in and engaged. So this will be a roll call. So you'll be unmuting yourself when your name's called. So let's start off with Member Booth.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, Member Klein,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Here, thank you.
Member Earl,
I'm here.
okay. Member Hart,
Yes.
future board member Real, Sarah,
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
future board member Joe Carey,
Here.
future board member Green,
Here.
future board member Wood,
Yes, thank you.
future board member Bogus.
I'm here, Chair Huntsman. It's Bogus.
How come I always say that wrong?
It's okay. A lot of people do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bogus. Okay, board member Straight,
Here.
member Norton, member Norton,
She's here and she's saying yes, but her sound is still not working. We'll work with her.
okay, member Moss,
Yes, sorry, I was on mute.
okay, member Lear,
I'm here.
member Hymas.
Here.
Okay, hey, we've got everyone here. Let's talk a little bit about managing expectations. Ben Rasmussen is Director of Law and Professional Practices, along with Sybil Child, our Executive Assistant to the board, is kind of takes point on these elections. I'll be helping out here. I guess I'm still chairing here. the way that this will roll out, the first part is an actionable item, and that is for the board to vote to establish either one or two vice chairs. I believe it can't exceed 3. And then after that is determined, then we'll go right into the board leadership candidates, and they'll be doing the board chair first, excuse me, and then right prior to the voting, the candidates for board chair will try to time it, try to keep it about 5 minutes if you want to take that much time to address the board. And what is being asked of you is, Member Carey has sent 4 questions out, and this is your opportunity to respond to those as the best of your ability. You know, we don't get into a bunch of debate and that on these elections. I mean, we certainly can in the future if we change our bylaws and that, but it will be your opportunity to address, again, Mr. Carey's 4 questions, and you might have already done it on your own. Then what will happen is we'll go right into the voting, and then which will be overseen by, again, Director Rasmussen. And then we will go to the vice chairs, and the vice chair, those that are choosing that leadership position, will have 5 minutes to speak. And again, they have the opportunity at that time to address future board member Joe Carey's questions. And then we get into the election of, if there's one vice chair, there will only be one. If there's 2 vice chairs, there'll be 2 elections, and we'll finish that. We'll just go through the process. If any of you are having any questions or any concerns and want to make sure there was some practice run on this voting, that you reach out to Executive Assistant Child, Civil Child, to confirm a vote, or if there's a challenge, or you're having challenges there. So we're going to make sure that this goes smooth, but that's the opportunity that's before the group. Member Klein, your hand is raised.
Yes, I was not able to download the app. What is the app called?
So, well, we'll have Ben walk through this again, but
Okay.
if you've got a challenge there and you want to do a verbal in there, and make sure that it's recorded or whatever, you can text.
So I can vote verbally if need be,
Well,
and I'll
or
send
you
an
can-
email as well.
Yeah, or you shoot an email or text to Sybil and myself.
Okay,
So
both of you.
Ben, but Ben's ramrodding this. I think that's
Chair, it can't be an email or a text. It has to be a verbal or the app. I apologize.
Oh,
Sure.
so you'll have to make a call into Sybil.
She could do it verbally out
Just
loud.
here.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
sure. If you want
yes.
it to be verbal, yeah. Yeah. So all of the voting ends up in the record anyway. So yeah, that's true. You can. Sorry, my bad.
Can I just raise my hand, or it's
I should
just
let
out loud?
Ben handle this, because he's going to be he's the one that's got to make sure.
All right.
it's perfect.
I also wanted to make a motion if this is a good time to do that.
Well, we don't have anything on our agenda to make motions, with the exception of
The vice chairs.
the vice chair. So, but before we get into this, I want to go to Ben Rasmussen, Director Rasmussen. Did I miss anything, or do you want to add clarity to what was just shared here, Director Rasmussen?
Thank you, Chair. Ben Rasmussen, Director of Law and Professional Practices. How it will work is you'll receive an email on each ballot. So you'll want to have access to your emails, just like the test vote that we did a few days earlier. That email will direct you to a website where you can cast your ballot. So you don't have to download an app for your phone. You just want to be able to have access to your email, and then you'll get an email for each ballot.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that said, Director Rasmussen, I'm turning this over to you to take point and on the first opportunity here, but I can take motion because I'm still chairing it, but you tell me if I'm out of bounds here. So Member Klein.
Yes, I just wanted to make a motion that we vote for 2 vice chairs.
I'll second that.
Do you want to speak to the motion?
Nope.
Okay. Debate. Anybody? Any amendments? I'm not seeing any hands raised, but this is a little bit challenging for me. So Sybil, make sure that I'm not missing because I don't have them all in order.
Member Hymas does have his hand raised.
Okay, Member Hymas.
Yeah, I'll just speak in favor of the motion. We've seen a couple times where it has been very valuable to have 2. I know that our past leadership 2 has been important as if any emergencies come up, and it's been it appears to have relieved some of the pressure off as the responsibilities have been shared. So I just speak in favor of the motion.
Okay. And nice sweater. Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands raised, so the motion before this group is to have 2 vice chairs, board members and future board members. Will you vote? There's reactions there at the bottom of the screen, and there's check boxes. Okay, and leave your checks on till we. Are you getting a total of 15 checks? That's what I'm seeing as I'm scanning.
Yes, I do see a unanimous vote.
That's what I'm seeing also. Okay, the voting is unanimous. We are going to vote for 2 vice chairs. So the first order of business now is, the next order is for your board chair. There's 3 candidates. I have on my list Vice Chair Davis, Member Straight, and Member Moss. So we'll start with Vice Chair Davis. You have something you want to speak to the body here?
Yeah, I'm happy to be with all of you today. I start a timer on myself, so I watch my time. I was thinking about getting ready to do this morning and this week, and I thought a lot about 2 years ago, which was the first time that I ran, and I hadn't thought about running. It wasn't something that had been necessarily on my radar, but I had a handful of people reach out and say, will you consider doing this? And I thought about doing it, and I said, yeah, I'm committed to serving the board. I'll do this. And I put my name in, and I kind of felt a little unsettled. And as I continued on, I thought, I think the board needs the continuity of Chair Huntsman to continue on here. And I had been planning on running for the first chair position. And I remember, and Mark, I'm sorry to share this personal piece, but it was also a public meeting, so the whole world saw this. But I remember being in a meeting and Chair Huntsman had joined us from his hospital room. He had COVID. That is how dedicated he is. I mean, he's in there from a hospital room with COVID in a board meeting. And I remember thinking a lot about if Mark is going to be the chair, and I didn't know him terribly, terribly well, even though we had served on the board for a couple of years, I thought, who does he need to support him the most? And the answer wasn't me. The answer was Laura Belknap. And so I called back those people who had tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to run. It was the first moment that I had absolute total clarity. And I said to them, I will do this and serve the board if you will vote for Laura to be the first chair. And that clarity only came when I took myself and my agenda or what I wanted or thought should or shouldn't happen and set it on the side and thought about the board as a body and the chair. And I believe that continues to be the case as we serve in leadership positions. If we put ourselves on the side and think about the board as a body and how to serve the board, we have greater and better clarity. I've answered, so that would be my goal as your chair, is to serve you. You sort of move from an agenda content role into a more of a logistical role, and there are a million of them. Anyway, that would be my goal, to continue to do that, to put the board first. I think in Joe Carey, I've got your 4 questions here. In your first question about library books, I think the question or the answer that you're looking for is yes. However, legally, we have no authority to remove books that have strong sexual overtones. As a parent and an individual policymaker, I don't think this is the age appropriate group. I don't think it's appropriate to be in a K-12 space. However, I have no legal authority when it comes to that. Only my own personal decisions to govern mine and my family's choices and reading material. In the case of material that falls into the legal definition of pornography, that's a different story. And legally, according to HB 370, material cannot be deemed to have serious value for minors if schools are following their process in the law. Then those descriptors under those 4 buckets, if you will, should not be legally in our schools. I, as an individual board member, and our board in general, follow the law and would vote to uphold it if it comes through our appeal process. Your next question is about charter schools.
Oh, wait, Cindy, point of order, point of personal privilege, but can we state the question before the answer, because the people watching on YouTube or wherever, they won't know what you're responding to.
Sure, if it doesn't take time out of my minutes to respond. Yes, let me get to my email and try to find your.
Well,
I'll just try to summarize them embedded in the question.
That'd be great. I'm just concerned that when people watch it, they'll hear the answer, but they won't really understand the question. That's all.
Yes, and I'm also wondering if we could just put your questions in backup so the whole world can see them and they know what's being responded to.
I would have written them much clearer if I needed a whole world watching. But yes.
Okay.
Well, hey, let me reel this in really quick. This isn't about a debate. This is an opportunity. She can choose to respond or not, but this is about satisfying you, not your constituents, on Mr. Carey, on your questions. So that's what's most important, is a response to you and not to the body, because the body or the public isn't voting on this right now. But
I appreciate that.
About you.
I generated these questions by asking my constituents to submit them. So. But I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
Not
the rest of the board members are doing the same thing in this capacity. So again, this is their opportunity to each of these candidates to respond to your questions if they choose to respond. So
Understood. Thank you,
okay.
Chairman.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Davis, please continue. I'll add another minute to this. So dive in.
Well, I'll just kind of try to summarize quickly. The next question was about charter schools and how the last few years, the charter school enrollment has remained a little flatter. It actually has increased, but if the question's about expansion, the USBE doesn't necessarily approve expansions, the state charter board does, and they have been a little more discerning as of late, I believe, to create more stability in the system. You know, there's also 53G-303, which it has caps on charter schools, which is created in law that the charter school creates their maximum cap. And I think certainly that could be adjusted if there are situations where there's just an overwhelming, you know, request and that cap has been met. There are a lot of caps that haven't been met, but that could be something that be considered. Without getting too far into the weeds on this, you really have to be thoughtful about how you expand to protect stability of the entire landscape. And we can go into a lot more detail later on. We're not limited on timing, but notwithstanding that, I met recently with our board leadership and the SCSB leadership to see if there are sensible increased flexibilities for satellites as requested by admin rules. And we've spent several hours discussing and drafting and reassessing how to increase flexibility for SCSB without jeopardizing stability of the entire system with bad policy. So we have another meeting scheduled in December and we'll continue to work on that.
You got another minute.
Okay, your next question is about bylaws, and I have a big old long thing written about bylaws, but apparently I don't have enough time. So maybe I'll share this one in the vice chair section, but I do believe that the bylaws are all applied equally. You had asked, are they applied equally? If they're not applied equally, should we get rid of the ones that aren't applied equally? I do believe they are, which sort of supersedes the other parts of your question. And particularly because we've sort of taken the subjectivity out of a lot of the one you're particularly concerned about, which I believe is the social media qualifier, but I'll talk more about that in the next round. The last thing I just want to end with, since I don't have a lot of time to address that, is that I was reading, when I was 21, a book about leaders. They were female leaders in my church, in my religion. And one that served many years ago said one thing. I don't remember anything else of the whole book, but I remember this one statement. And she said, I have always made it a point in my life to base my opinion on my personal interaction with individuals and not on other people's opinions of them. And whether I'm your chair or not your chair, I'm going to commit to this board as the first time I'm seeing you, that I will base my opinion of you on my personal experience with you, not on what I've heard from anybody else. And I would ask you to do the same of me and of all of our board members on the board. And I appreciate this time. I hope I would like to serve you as your chair. I believe in the work that we're doing. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Member Straight.
Chair, I've withdrawn from this section. It probably wouldn't be appropriate to speak.
Okay. Well, I apologize, I didn't get that memo. So, okay. Member Moss.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to first thank every person on this board. These 2 years have been an incredible honor and privilege to work with you. And I've had a chance to get to know a little bit those who are coming onto the board. And I am amazed by the breadth and the depth of experience and insight and passion that are shared here. I've greatly enjoyed opportunities to be mentored by experienced leaders on this board and serving in finance under Chair Huntsman's direction to learn from him. And so I seek to serve this board. I think the job of a leader is to listen, to serve, to facilitate, to empower people, to bring good ideas to a place where they can be acted on. And as somebody who's not a formal educator, I had a lot of education roles, but someone who's not formally in the system, I think it's a great privilege to be able to be part of the system. So, education is close to magic. I've been on this board and I've visited schools, individuals, institutions across the spectrum. And I will say that one thing I've learned, and I think it's an important thing to lead with, is that which unites us is truly greater than that which divides us. And I've seen a depth and commitment to helping every single student reach their potential. I think the purpose of education, to go to one of Joe's questions, I mentioned it's like magic. You can, with a good education, you can help a student change from bored and disengaged to fully engaged with their hair on fire. I've seen that with my kids from their best teachers. You can turn from despair to hope. I've seen that. I did some of my education studies in the inner city in LA to see the hope generated. It's true that every cliche about education is true. It puts the world at your feet. It opens doors. That's what we're about here. And I would hope to serve you by leading in a way that brings all of that passion and commitment to the fore through a system that is organized to empower. So I think, students need to be understood as individuals. They need to be challenged. They need to be built. We can help build that capacity even as we come through a rough time. I have the greatest respect for our teachers. I could name some that have helped my kids through very tough times, but we need to respect them and empower them. I'm in favor of flexibility and opportunity for them to take the skills and tools they have and do what's best for their students. I think we need to reach out to parents in a way that empowers and respects. We've had, a lot of discussion about parent engagement. I think one thing we can do is truly respect that role as not only those who create and send their kids into the system, but those who understand their kids and are the best possible partner with our teachers in helping each student be understood and reach their potential. So I see the role of a chair as helping the system empower people at the right levels to do that great work. Let me just turn, I guess, to a couple of the questions then. Will you commit to reviewing either directly or through the appropriate rule all library books to remove those things that are pornographic? We had a lot of sensitive and vigorous debate about this. It's a tough subject. We passed a model policy. Schools are now implementing their own policies. I think we need to follow that closely. And I think people are trying very hard to follow the law. We do need to see how that shakes out. And we have in our own system or in our own model, or excuse me, in our rule, an opportunity if a district does not follow its policy for us to send it back and ask them to follow that policy. So there is a check there, but I appreciate watching my own local district wrestle with these questions. And I think community members are trying to do the right thing there. But it's very important that you do have to ask how some of this stuff got there in the first place. And so I'm very glad that attention's been paid to it. Charter schools, why is it declining? I think it's true that some of that has rebounded, frankly, during the pandemic. My interest is not so much how many charter schools we have, but how much choice individual kids and parents have and quality choice. So all my kids have gone to district schools. I did serve on the state charter school board, and I have great respect for the opportunity of schools to be nimble and responsive. I'm very glad to see that we had a couple innovation bills that give districts some of the same flexibility that charters have. And so we need appropriate oversight there with autonomy and flexibility. And I would love to see us look at how we can best support those charter schools that want to adapt and flex and serve the needs of their students. And whether that's more charter schools or just better charter schools is, I think, up to parents and students, and we have a system that supports that. I think one point here is that charters and districts have a lot to learn from each other, and that's something I'd like to work on improving. Let's see, set of bylaws. Am I up?
Sorry?
You got a couple more minutes to kind of equal where Cindy was at.
Okay, I don't know if I'll take the whole 2 minutes, but bylaws should apply equally to all board members. If they're not, leadership should hear about it and make sure that they're being applied equally. If there's a bylaw that is problematic and needs to be reviewed or revised, that's also something we should look at. Certainly an important part of any institution that supports the rule of law is that we have rules that apply to everybody equally. So I'm certainly committed to ensuring that. And, if I were the chair, hearing any concerns and addressing those vigorously. What's the purpose of education? The word that keeps coming to my mind as I've served on this board and elsewhere, community councils and charter boards and other things, the word is empower. And I see the lights go on in kids. I see people get past challenges when they realize they can acquire knowledge, skills, attitudes that truly give them the power to see opportunities and pursue those and accomplish those. And, a lot of our students have a lot of things in common. They've all right now been through a really tough time. My kids, I got 5 kids, and they've all been through it. And our ability to help build their capacity to guide them towards academic success as a platform and a foundation for success in whatever they want to do in life is just a very great challenge, but a very great opportunity. So that's what I see as our business here. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity I had to serve with each of you, and I would love to serve and facilitate as the board chair, and look forward to working with you all the next couple of years.
Thank you. Okay, Ben Rasmussen, Dr. Rasmussen, next step. We've got two candidates here. Member Straight, I understand you want to be moved to the vice chair group. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I am going to start the vote on this. You're going to get an email that will give you a link to cast your ballot with the two candidates. You just vote for one, and as soon as we have the votes from all 15 people, we will announce the results. So check your emails. The emails should be coming.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Emily.
Okay. I just, I pushed the vote button and the screen doesn't go anywhere. It's supposed to go somewhere after you place your vote.
Director Rasmussen, did you hear her question?
Let's say that again.
Go ahead.
When I push vote, the screen doesn't go anywhere. I didn't know if it was supposed to take me somewhere else after that vote's been placed. It did this on the practice as well.
Tell you what mine did.
I'm just looking to see if it recorded your vote in the practice, Emily. It did not. So we may, if it's not taking your vote through, I do show that let's see. You're the only one whose vote hasn't been counted. I don't know if you want to send Sybil an email, or if you can't get it through, that would be the alternative way to do it, would just be to send Sybil an email with the person you're voting for. I'm not sure why it's not counting your, accepting your vote.
All right, I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Or Emily, shut down out of that email and maybe try it one more time.
Okay.
And let's see if that clears your queue.
Often, sometimes also the browser, if you use a different browser, like switch from Google Chrome to Safari or Mozilla, or Google Chrome is generally the best one.
Okay. I am on Google. Yeah, I'm so sorry. It doesn't take me anywhere.
Go ahead and send Sybil an email real quick with just who you're voting for. I'm sorry that this isn't working for you. And Jerry, we'll need to count the ballots then. So if you'll send Chair Huntsman and Sybil and myself to the breakout room real quick.
Hey, Sybil, I just sent that to you.
Thank you.
So while we are sitting here quietly, how do I get Jenny's backdrop? I didn't get a blue option. I just got a white option.
So Member Hymas, Member Earl is actually using one of the backdrops that, as well as Member Straight, that were made for staff. The white backgrounds with the board member in the corner was what was made for board members. I am having additional backgrounds made for board members if you're not a fan of the white one, so that you have more options. But hopefully we can all transition, or have all board members transition to using a board member background. So that way.
I like a variety depending on what I'm wearing, you know?
I second that. The white washes me out.
And I know for some of you blonde-haired blessed people, the white kind of makes your hair disappear. So we are working on it.
So I probably am using the right one.
I tried the white.
I just have to say, I had the white one, and I don't know, I went to a meeting and it automatically transitioned it for me. So I can't even speak to that.
And I tried the white one and I looked like a plugged in Medusa, like look, a little electricity is coming out of all my curly white hairs blending in with the white background. It was super fun.
I feel like I'm Batman emerging from the dark when I look at mine. Is that how it looks to you?
Yeah, it's dramatic.
We'll have to get you a ring light, Member Straight. That way you can be nice, well lit.
I think your camera's adjusting to the light or something.
Well, if we're going to do that, then we need walk-up music too.
So I'm not sure I like mine, and I'm not sure which one goes with me.
They all do, Brent. It's too bad I don't have a bell. We could make some music.
Member Hart, there is an option in Zoom they could activate and we could make music together.
Oh no, I don't make music unless Member Booth is leading with the clear letter chart and the pointer.
And you do an excellent job of it when we're working together there.
Well, thank you. I got the G sharp. Guess how many G sharps there are in Silent Night?
One.
Many.
0.
You should-
Randy, I vote that that become a tradition at all group events.
That was fun.
I'll go get my
With-
kazoo. I have a kazoo. I should go
Wrapping.
get it and play.
Sybil and Ben, are you back out of the breakout
Yes.
room?
Yes, we're both here.
Okay. Board members, I'm my privilege to announce the new board chair will be Chair Moss. Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The next order of business is because there's two chairs. There's the first vice chair is the one that's next in line, and when the chair is having a knee replacement or something and is not available to take care of those leadership responsibilities, and outside of that, there's that's about it. You're kind of next in line to backfill in that. There isn't anything in our bylaws that says a difference, the first chair from the second chair. It's just how leadership divides up, being the chair divides up assignments. So I have on my list as potential chairs, because we don't.
Vice chair.
I mean, vice chairs, excuse me. I have member Earl, Booth, Hart, Straight, and Davis. So the question
Chair
right
Huntsman.
now.
Oh, go ahead.
The question is, out of that group, who wants to place their name in the first chair space to be on the first chair ballot? So I'll just shout out. I'll just go through the list. Member Davis, you want to be on this first chair ballot?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Member Straight,
Yes.
member Hart,
Yes, please.
member Booth,
No.
member Earl.
No.
Okay, so we've got 3 in the first chair slot. So while Ben's doing his work there, we're going to start off with member Hart, then Straight, and Vice Chair Davis. But member Hart. Got 5
Sure
minutes?
thing. Sure
And then-
thing. Hello, fellow board members. Welcome on a Friday snowy afternoon, snow day for some. I've spent a lot of time in education. It started out as I've been continuously in school since about 1980. So I haven't graduated. I just keep having different experiences. And for me, education was my ticket to freedom, and it's the way I found my own personal voice, and it's the way I was able to create different circumstances for me, and eliminate some of the difficulties that my family had as I grew up. So I'm a first generation college student, and it's been a wild ride. And I want to make sure that those opportunities exist for all people at all ages. I want the education system in Utah to be robust. I want people to have choices. And those choices and those paths are not better, they're not worse, they're just different. And I believe education helps people to helps make lives easier, not better, not worse. Just sometimes people choose harder paths or easier paths. As a member of leadership, you're part of a team. You're part of a team that leads the board and provide service to the board. So the point of leadership is to work together to make sure that the board experience meets its stated outcomes. I'm interested in making the system efficient, more nimble, more responsive, and more transparent to students, families, teachers. I think that policy decisions should be made through the lens of a clear vision and using a transparent process. I think it's important that we move forward and we keep making progress. We keep taking steps. Sometimes they're giant leaps. Sometimes there's tiny, tiny baby steps. In answering the questions that Board Member Carey brings up, future Board Member Carey, sorry. I think I've outlined the purpose of education. I'm always available if anybody wants to get a clearer answer or wants to ask a question. But that's kind of in a nutshell where I stand on the purpose of education. The question was, what do you see as the purpose of education? As for the books, I think it illustrates a central tenet. The question was, can you commit to reading through the books and finding the ones that shouldn't be there and getting those out of our libraries? I think we have to think pragmatically. Sure, if that's what the will of the people, we technically could do that if that's how we wanted to spend our time and resources, and if that was what the people needed us to do or what the board decided to do as a whole. I would go further though, and instead of having a defensive position, I'd also wouldn't believe that the issue is settled until you create a preventative measure. So I would then continue the conversation with, well, how did those books get there in the first place, and what can we do to keep that from happening? So that's just, yep, that's just an illustration of how I would tackle a situation. You address the situation, but then you go further and you make sure that that type of situation is less likely to occur in the future. I listen to everyone. Like I said, you'd all have access to me, and I'll gladly talk your ear off, but not in a board meeting because we have business to do and things to get done. So I commit to efficient and board meetings that meet the purpose, and any length of conversation outside of that board meeting so that we all have our voices heard and we come to the best conclusion possible for the students and teachers and families and parents and all the constituents that we serve here in Utah. Thanks.
Member Straight.
Yes, thank you. I'm kind of like Board Member Hart. I did spend 30 years as an educator, 10 years at the junior high. I served my time there, and the last 20 years at Bonneville High School. And it was a wonderful journey. I do miss the students immensely. I do, however, enjoy what I'm doing on the policy side. And, you know, as a result of retiring, one of the things that I really have is time that I can manage. And for example, just 2 months ago, I counted 13 full or partial days that I spent on board business. I didn't want to list a biography because there's many opportunities I've been given, and I've appreciated that. I don't know the science necessarily of all this, but I'd like to use a little analogy, and it's lifting weights. When you lift those weights, the opposition makes you stronger. And as I've looked back over the last couple of years, and I'll just look over the last year now, wow, we've had a lot of things on our plate. We've dealt with a lot of issues. And I am so pleased and proud of how the board has worked together. Sometimes it hasn't been entirely efficient, but the end product, if you think back on all the major issues, it wasn't 8-7 votes. It wasn't 9-6. It was almost always close, almost close to being perfect unanimity on those issues. The sensitive materials issue is one of those. The committee worked on it. Law and licensing was the committee. They debated it. I listened to their conversations back and forth. And when they came to the board and presented what they had, I was so pleased. And I was pleased that we were able to come to a solution that, number one, helps protect our children. And that is absolutely, absolutely so important. It also did exactly what the legislature asked us to do. The legislature asked us to, with the advice of the Attorney General's office, to then develop, and we chose to develop a model policy of which local school districts or LEAs can develop their process.
Number straight, couple.
Yes. Okay. And as mentioned by Chair Moss, now, Chair, you took my thought away. As mentioned by Chair Moss, we have the ability not to go into their libraries, but if someone feels like that an LEA has violated their own policy, then we have administrative review. And that's an important power. Over time, I've had the opportunity to serve on a city council for 11 years. And currently, I also serve as mayor pro tem. And one thing I've noticed, either in my responsibilities as vice chair and standards and assessment, or whether it be when I have that occasion to be mayor pro tem, that I take on a different persona. I take on more of a role of a facilitator. You know, I think you can't have an agenda, and I make that commitment. I also make the commitment that the majority voice of the board will be what is presented in public. I think that is absolutely a must. We cannot have personal agendas going up against the board rule. And I have 100% faith from my experience of the last 2 years that whatever the board comes up with as a majority, I support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Vice Chair Davis.
All right, I'm going to go back to Member Carey's questions because now I have my glasses thanks to my husband and I can actually read what I wrote. And, you know, this is not going to strike you as a campaign talk, but I think it's important to get the information out. Member Carey, you had expressed concern, questions about bylaws and are they applied fairly? And then you had expressed concern and asked questions about specifically the bylaw that requires a qualifier when you speak or post something that is not an official board position. And so I'm going to address that question. I do believe the bylaws are applied to equal force to all members. Let's use the social media notice to the public, because I think that was something you were concerned about the other day. It's a good example for this question. If a member is expressing something that's not an official position of the board, you know, then we let people know this is our own opinion or this is not an official position. Before we had a bylaw on this, we had received a lot of complaints and questions with social media about the position and intentions of the board. And you know what we did with those? Nothing. We did nothing because honestly, we didn't know what to do. When you work with board members, you inherently want to support and protect them. And as a side note, I've always appreciated Chair Huntsman's example of never speaking negatively about another board member in public or private. And I have tried to emulate that as well. So you want to support and protect your members, but then you also have this responsibility to the board and to the public. In one instance, one out of many, the AAG said, this one you don't have that luxury as board leadership. You have to take some action. And so we did, and because of risk to the board. But I personally hated being the judge and the jury on this stuff, and I'm guessing our new board leadership will as well. I was truly grateful when we reworked bylaws and policies and added the piece about qualifying things that aren't official positions of the board and having all of the complaints go through our independent audit department. If the qualifier in a post or a speech is there, it lessens the risk to the board. Sometimes enough and sometimes not. But the audit committee independently assesses if the material presents legal or reputational risk to the board. When they say it doesn't, as leadership, we put it aside. When they say it does, we send it to the full board in a confidential executive session to choose to pick it up and act or not. There's
Cindy. 2 more minutes.
There's still autonomy left for the board leadership, but I hope the new leadership will continue in this vein, because for us, it has taken the subjectivity completely out and left the decisions entirely up to the level of risk as determined by an independent group, as determined by our bylaws and policies, and then puts it in the hands of the full board. This is equally and fairly applied to all members. So when we talk about board laws and its applications, I hope that whomever our board leadership is, and I commit to you if it's me, to try as much as I can to keep subjectivity on the side and put objectivity in through bylaws and processes that are sound and that will be a protection to all of our board members. Finally, the purpose of education, Member Carey, is to educate, and all board members. It is to teach students and have them gain knowledge, skills, and abilities that will open doors of opportunity for them to competently compete in the marketplace, obtain family sustaining jobs, and contribute to their families and communities. And I believe this to be so. I have worked in education in a variety of areas, in K-12 and in higher ed, and in policy now with all of you for 30 years. And I believe that our education opportunities in Utah absolutely open these doors for our young people and their future families and our future communities. Thanks.
Okay, this concludes the first vice chair candidates. The other vice chair candidates, for sure you're in alignment with the next round, correct? Okay, Ben, next step.
Okay, so I've just sent out another email. Because there are 3 candidates, this will be a ranked choice vote. So when you cast your ballot, you'll want to rank the candidates in the order that you choose. Emily, if you want to send an email on this one, if you have the same issue, just list the candidates in the order of your preference in the email.
Okay, we'll go into the breakout room. I'm not seeing any questions or concerns. Ben, Sybil, did you make the jump?
We made the jump.
Yes, Chair.
This is kind of like, I'm not feeling any pain from it. Glad we're back into this. Well, board members, your first vice chair is Vice Chair Hart. Okay, second vice chair, Jenny Earl, are you still in?
Yes, I
that?
am. Yep. Thank you.
Member Booth, let's see, Member Straight? Oh, no, Booth. Member Booth, are you in?
Yes, thank you.
Member Straight and Davis. Member Straight, are you wanting to be in the pool?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and yes. Okay. 5 minutes. We'll start with member Earl, then Booth, then Davis and Straight.
Thank you. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm going to try to weave the questions that that Joe Carey asked in through my response altogether. And I'm going to start with just the purpose of education, which actually leans into my belief around education and policies and such. But there's a couple of things I think are the reason for education. One of those is to sustain communities and families. We provide sound education, including literacy, numeracy, if you want to call that, as well as other elements to the education process in order that individuals can sustain their families and their communities. In conjunction with that, one of the other key reasons why we do education, and it's in our legislative code, as well as our policies, is to sustain the constitutional republic that we are all a part of, that preserves the liberties and freedoms of this nation and our communities. And so I think that is also one of the key elements. And I think that goes beyond, I think that reaches into service and civics character and those different things that we have framed within the law, but I believe those are more than just the law. Those are the application in the way we engage with one another and the examples we set. Let's see, let me look down my list here. Okay, so let me just address, when it comes to charter schools, I do think we do play a key role in making sure that our policies and our regulations do not hinder a charter school from being able to accomplish their mission and their charter. And so I do think we play a key role in making sure that charters have the ability to do the unique, innovative things that they were designed to do. Because when we put too much regulation and hindrance on them, they become just a regular public school, and they don't take on the unique characteristics of a charter school. So I do believe that we have the obligation, as we're putting policies and regulations into place, to make sure that it works for charter schools as well as our public schools. Coming out of this last legislative session, and if you've listened to me very much, and this is going to sound a little bit like a political speech, because I have two things that I've been following pretty heavily. Number one, the simplification of the things that we're doing for our educators and for our administrators. I just really want to get back to simplifying things so that educators can do the key things that they need to do, and that's educating our children. And then the second thing is that asking who is responsible for the different components of education. If it's the parents, we need to have them be responsible for that. If it's the state board, then they need to be responsible. If it is the local education entities, then they need to be responsible. This leads into the book discussion that we've had already, and this centers around the legislation that came out this last year. I think it has many components that local education entities need to be aware of, and it's their responsibility to oversee those libraries. In code, that's their responsibility, but it is that local board's responsibility. But we also bear some of that responsibility in that in the areas that we have instructional materials, it needs to be woven into our policies and our rules. And we've already begun that, doing that, to make sure that we're protecting the innocence of children through putting the laws into our policies. And that is an obligation and a responsibility that the state board has.
Member Earl, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm trying to think if I hit every one of those components. Oh, there was also the bylaws. It's my opinion and my position that we do need to make sure that we're following bylaws. But if we have bylaws that are not allowing board members to engage or to express their thoughts, then we need to maybe look at those. In addition to that, I do think that there needs to be equal application of the bylaws. But I also believe that an individual board member speaking thoughts or opinions, that we shouldn't be restrictive to that. And so I want the latitude to be there for us to have a robust dialogue, a robust debate, to engage in differences of thought or opinion or direction. And I just want to say I have tried really hard over the last several years to pull in people that either have differing opinions or that I want to engage with on different policies. I do think communication is key. I work well with legislators. I work well with other group members, and I look forward very much to serving on this board and to serving you in this capacity as a vice chair and supporting you as we move education forward and we move to better the lives of our students and our families, and especially even our educators in this state. So anyways, that's my comments. I'm looking forward to having your vote.
Member Booth.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of these board members and hearing them speak and knowing of the commitment that everyone is making fills me up and gets me excited about the work that we have been doing and that we will continue to do together. In response to your first question, Mr. Carey, regarding books and libraries, it was in response to House Bill 374 and our responsibility to keep Utah's children safe that this year the board developed the model library policy R277628 that places responsibility on local school boards to ensure that school library books will be reviewed and removing any books that have pornographic content. And I've always been one for local control. After 16 years on the Nebo School Board, I know that it's at that level where these important checks and safety measures can be implemented to protect our children. Our rule at the state level is aimed at guiding districts and charter schools in reviewing materials in schools that could be deemed sensitive. I've been interested in seeing the tremendous growth of charter schools from the beginning where there was just a handful and now where there are hundreds of them. We continue to support all public education entities in their quest to provide world-class education for their students. Parents can choose what learning environment might be best for their individual child as they review the school's record of academic excellence, additional learning opportunities presented with best practices in a supportive, creative environment. And by strengthening every school, whether it be charter or one of our LEA's public schools, we open each parent's opportunity to choose the best alternative for their child.
Member Booth, couple minutes, just sum it up.
Bylaws are bylaws. Certainly all bylaws should apply with equal force to all board members. Any adjustments needed in those bylaws should be addressed by the board in its annual review. And it would feel really inappropriate to approach the compliance to bylaws in a buffet approach, picking and choosing what we choose to follow and what we do not. If it's on the books, we should comply or make the changes through the established process. And the purpose of education is to lead each student in their acquisition of knowledge, skills, and dispositions requisite to a successful life. teachers can spark interest in what their student is good at and help them learn how to work in a group setting, contributing as a part of a team. And yet another crucial element is becoming aware of the world around us, recognizing, respecting, and valuing both the differences and that which we share. I've been in this business for a long time, and those who know me know that I'm consistent. I will be respectful. I will be grateful. I will listen. I will be happy to serve with you in any capacity. And I am committed, having witnessed and taught children in 45 countries around the world. I know what a gold mine we have in these precious young children, 10 of which are my grandchildren. And I'm going to continue in whatever role to champion their education and their safety. And I look forward to sharing that responsibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member Davis? You're muted.
Thank you.
There you go.
After all these years of doing this, you'd think we wouldn't continue to have that muting problem. You know, I've thought a lot about, well, what do I want in a board leader? What do I want? I want someone first and foremost who's fair. I want someone who is respectful regardless of ideology. I want someone who's passionate about education. I want someone who helps the board avoid legal risk. I want someone who represents official positions, not personal priorities when they speak to the legislature. I want somebody who will run efficient meetings. I want somebody who will clearly communicate. I want somebody who will partner with parents and teachers and legislators and all others who have a vested interest in what happens to the children in the state of Utah. I want leaders who will be humble, or at least try to be, and apologize when they're not. And I have tried to be those things, and I have fallen short time and time again in service to you, but hopefully I have been quick to apologize when I've fallen short and quick to get back on the step to represent you well and to communicate those and do those things that I just listed. I want to congratulate Chair Moss and congratulate Vice Chair Hart. And, you know, this has been an interesting process. We've given information that, you know, who's going to vote for what, and if this has been decided long ago and whatnot. And I will just say that regardless of what happens today, by the end of this meeting, I have full confidence that this board will move forward and do good work. Our new chair and vice chairs will have my full support. I saw a sunrise when I was driving into the USBE for our full board meeting on Thursday. And it was so expansive. It like lit up the whole eastern sky. And when it did that, as I was coming off the 6 South ramp, it completely illuminated the whole entire city of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I had this feeling, I am not kidding, plain as day, that life is good. It's beautiful. And the board, serving on this board is a great privilege. And whatever happens today, we're all going to move forward and we're going to do our work the best that we can. I would appreciate the opportunity to serve you again. I've tried to put myself aside and focus on you and the will of the board. If that's not the case, I will be back serving with you. You'll hear a lot more from me content-wise, but that's okay. We're going to all move forward together and do our best work. And I just have a feeling things are going to be good. So thanks for this time. I've taken a few liberties in the things that I've shared today because I want accurate and honest and truthful information to be out there and to dispel sometimes misunderstandings and misconceptions and rumors. But I appreciate the time and I appreciate all of you. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Member Straight.
Wow, thank you for the message. I always get positive feelings when I listen to the board. And that was a great message. And I appreciate the other messages that have been given, not to take away. Now I'm going to ruin it. Anyway, so I'm just going to answer the questions that I didn't quite get to last time. Excuse me, last time. I want to talk about Portrait of a Graduate in our strategic plan. And within that, we have what's called Portrait of a Graduate. And the vision statement from that Portrait of a Graduate is beautiful in addressing what I believe education is all about. And it was created by the State Board of Education. Upon completion, and that means from high school, and it's even been expanded beyond that, all Utah students are prepared to succeed and lead by having the knowledge and skills to learn, engage civically, and lead meaningful lives. And I believe that fully. In regards to charter schools, the question is, why do you think that charter schools are not growing as robustly in terms of numbers of students? Well, the Desert News recently had an article, and 12% of all Utah students are in charter schools. That is up 1.2% over the, I didn't write down how long that period is, but enrollment in the Salt Lake City School District is down almost 20,000 students. We have seen some demographic shifts. I don't know if exactly all the reasons. I know there's more students going to private Catholic schools, and that has been increasing as well. So the next question is, what will you do to help even more students attend charter schools? Well, charter school students are public school students. The traditional neighborhood school are also public school students. I support all of them. As a family of seven with 7 children, we have made different decisions for our children based on their specific needs. So I'm not going to promote one school over another. I support them all. And I support parents to make decisions for their children. Let's see, there was one other question. Is my time almost up?
Well, you got a couple minutes.
Okay. What's the other question, Mr. Carey? I'm looking through here. I answered the sensitive materials. Did I answer your questions? You can go ahead and respond if I have or not, and tell me which one I haven't.
There's the bylaws. Did you
Oh,
get
the
it?
bylaws. That's the one.
That might help.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the bylaws, I support our bylaws. I really admire what leadership has done as far as enforcing those bylaws. I know when I speak in public, I'm very cognizant to make certain that I represent my views and not that of the board, if it is my personal view, and I will continue to maintain that. I haven't seen where someone has been unduly or mistreated in any way. That's my view. If someone has, I'd sure like to know when that occurred. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the comment portion for our second vice chairs. Ben Rasmussen, are you ready? Are you set up to send out your email?
Okay, the email has gone out.
Okay, board members, at this time, it's your opportunity to vote for your second vice chair. I'll go to the breakout room when I see the prompt. There it is.
You're muted, Chair Huntsman.
Still muted.
I'm back. There you go. I came back and I had this little sliver of people. I'm going, oh crud. What happened coming back? That didn't beam me all the way in. Okay, here we go. Well, we're done voting today. I'm proud to announce that your new second vice chair is do we do a drum roll and all of that kind of stuff? Is Vice Chair Earl. So to sum up the elections, the new leadership for the Utah State Board of Education, we have Chair Moss, first Vice Chair Hart, and second Vice Chair Earl. Congratulations. This process is complete. And this meeting is finished. So leadership will be doing some handoffs. The existing leadership still finishes out till the end of the month. We still have a few meetings, and that will be working with the new leadership on some handoffs. So congratulations. I appreciate your participation with this process. And this meeting is adjourned. Am I leaving anything out, Sybil? I think that's it on our agenda.
That's it.
Okay, I hope all have a great weekend. It's been a big week.
Merry Christmas.
Congratulations all, and thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you.